News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. I'm Big Jim Smith in for Chris Crock, and he's enjoying a little bit of holiday time today and tomorrow. He's going to be spending time with the fam and blowing off some fireworks, I'm sure. And so we've been talking about this dilemma, as it were, that are in this election. And I think the dilemma is if you don't support Donald Trump, who do you support? We need to know that. If you support Joe Biden, I got to find out why. And why would you continue to support Joe Biden with everything that we just heard from Angie? We lost Angie. Her call dropped because I really wanted to come back and find out some more details, because I have noticed a marked decrease. I owned fitness centers, okay? And we had people that were canceling their fitness memberships. We have month-to-month memberships. But I would take the time to call each person and say, so why are you canceling? It has grown. It used to be, I'm moving, it's I'm having a kid, I'm having surgery, blah, blah, blah. Now, the majority are, I can't afford it. I just simply can't afford the $35 a month. We're having to count every penny. My wife and I just retired, and we had to sit down and make a budget because we don't have gajillions of dollars in the bank. I mean, we've been really blessed, but we see that what's going on now. Our investments have dropped down. I'm not old enough to apply for Social Security, and I really never wanted to apply for Social Security. And it probably won't be there in 3 years when I'm eligible anyway, unless Donald Trump can get in and we can save the program. So those are some of the realities that we're looking at. And it's all part and parcel to an administration that has been on a spending spree, bailing out student loans, bailing out that Build Back Better crap. It's sad, but if you just look around, go to the movies, you see fewer people. I live in a tourist area, in a recreational tourist area, and when we went up to the national park near us, it was noticeable fewer people. And when I talk to the businesses at one of the entry areas to the national park, they're down. They're not getting the same volume of business. We go early in the morning so we can get in, and the McDonald's is where we grab breakfast every time. Number one, for an Egg McMuffin, we're paying $7 for an Egg McMuffin at the gate to the national park. But we don't have to wait in line. We've always had to wait in line before. When the economy was good, you get into the park and it's not bumper to bumper traffic like it has been in the past. We're in a different world right now, and it's because of Joseph R. Biden. So we've got another caller on the line here. Tom in Frisco, appreciate you being a part of the show. What you got for WBAP?
Hi, Jim. Appreciate the show. You're doing a great job.
Thanks.
You asked earlier what Joe Biden has cost me. He has cost me any faith I've ever had in the Democrat Party. I've always, and I'm 75. My parents were Democrats. Kennedy was, in my opinion, the last decent Democrat. But they have become a party of nothing but liars, deceivers, and certainly narcissistic people that don't care anything about the common person. They say they do, but they really don't. They have become the party of the elite. I mean, naturally, where do they hold their rallies? With movie stars and the very rich, etc. But Joe Biden, and I'm a retired person, but I'm having to do rideshare driving to make ends meet. I'm not shy, and I talk to a lot of people about the politics of today. Every once in a while, I'll get some people that just don't seem to know anything, and they just are Democrats because that's what they've always been.
Well, exactly. And I think that's the problem, Tom. You grew up with parents who are Southern Democrats, I'm sure. My buddy, he's one of my best friends, but man, he will not let go because he grew up in Louisiana. Mom and dad were Democrats. He's a Democrat. And regardless of what the platform contains, he's going to support it and he's going to be a Democrat. And, when we see that in our conservative states where people who are really good people hold like a death grip to the Democrat Party because that's what they've always done.
Well, let me give you a little hope, okay? I have driven, I don't know how many young black people, and I had one just the other day. He said he had turned 18 in 2020, and his mother is a staunch Democrat. She said, you got to vote for Biden. He said, I'm 22 now. I'm big enough to know what's going on, and I'm not voting for Biden. I'm voting for Trump.
Exactly.
These young people aren't as dumb as a lot of people are saying they are. They are waking up and realizing just all of the lies that Biden creates. Another black gentleman this week told me, he said, yeah, people don't really do any studying of history. He said, I didn't believe it when somebody told me that Biden had said he didn't want his kids to go to school in a racial jungle. And I went back and found the video of it.
Well, and his best friend was Jesse Helms.
Yeah.
A grand poobah in the KKK. Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you what.
Black people, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, Tom, you're hitting the nail right on the head. I was in Miami last fall, and I took an Uber, and it was a gentleman who had come from Cuba, and he was about our age. I mean, he was pretty close. He was in the upper 60s, low 70s, and he was driving this Uber. Number one, he was retired. He had come here, worked his entire life, worked hard, had a retirement, and couldn't afford to survive. So here he was having to drive an Uber to make ends meet. So he's doing just like you. But to hear his personal testimony about his patriotism for the country, for his love of the United States, for and how his own kids frustrate him because they're drinking the Kool-Aid and playing the liberal game. But here's this. I speak fluent Spanish, so we were talking in Spanish, and it was really moving to me to hear this guy, for lack of a better reference, a religious reference, bear testimony of his love of the United States of America. And he had an American flag on the dashboard that was in a holder, and he said that flag means everything to me. Esa bandera me significa todo en mi vida. That's what he said, and I that just has echoed with me. So I appreciate it, Tom. Thanks for calling in, being a part of the show, and keep faithful. Thanks for taking the conservative stand. We've got Hank in Parker Heights. I've got to run into a break, Hank, but don't go away because I really want to talk to you about what your topic here. So hang on the line. We're going to take a quick break. If you want to be a part of the show, 1-800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. We've got more of the Chris Crock Show. I'm Big Jim Smith right here on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Moving on with the evening, 9:17, News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. I'm Big Jim Smith, in for the famous Chris Crock. This is fun. I haven't done this for a while. I think it was the holidays was when I covered the last time on WBAP. I've been busy moving, selling my businesses, and I've been busy starting a podcast for another Cumulus affiliate. And so that's released every week, but you can find it on any of the platforms. It's the Big Jim Smith podcast, and it's a lot of local politics for that affiliate. But if you like the show today, you might enjoy the podcast, and I'd love to hear from you. And I can always use the clicks. To be point blank, I can use the downloads. So go for it. We'd love to have it. We're going to be talking in a little while. I want to talk about this ABC News interview with George Stephanopoulos, another mouthpiece for the Biden administration. We're going to be talking about Kamala Harris. The White House is now touting her as the future of the Democratic Party. That's the future. Well, that leads right into our next caller. Hank has been hanging in there with us from Parker Heights. Welcome to WBAP. Let's talk about this, Hank.
Well, thank you, Big Jim Smith. But I think from the standpoint of the Democrat cohort, time is of the essence. We've got 4 months until the general election and 2.5 months till early voting begins in those states that allow it.
Well, and they have their convention coming up.
And the bottom line, I think, is that, the Dem cohort is apoplectic right now. They don't know where the hell they're going. And I go back to, who is it? Rahm Emanuel, the first chief of staff of Obama, said, don't let a good crisis go to waste. And I think, Trump is looking at this and saying, let's look at it, go on down the line.
Well, and I think I like the way you put this, that they're in a quandary, because they're looking at this. If Biden stays in, how do they win? And there was already so many question marks with the last election, with the ballots counting stopping in Georgia in the middle of the night for 4 hours, and then Trump was ahead before the stop, and then Biden was ahead by a magnificent amount when the ballot counting resumed. The little things like that, and stuff that's come up. There's a special out that deals with it. The argument is, well, no court in the land, no court would hear it because it came before Democrat judges every time. So the problem is, how are they going to do this without bending the rules or cheating? Is there a way they can win the election?
Well, when I think about that, that's water over the bridge.
Yeah, it's the past. It's 2020, and
we can't go back. But we can go forward from the standpoint of looking at what we're faced with now. A Biden candidacy that is a no-go, or a Kamala Harris candidacy, which, I don't know, I think it's a no-go too. But, if I'm Trump, I'm just going to say, hey, let it roll in and roll out, because the apoplectic nature of the Democratic cohort is going to, emollize themselves.
Well, and exactly. And I think Trump's MO all along has been to just keep moving forward. When he was president and they were dragging him through the impeachment process, and it was a bunch of crap then, has been proven to be absolutely false. How Adam Schiff is still even in play is unbelievable. The people in his district must be absolute morons. But he's from California, so there's a possibility there. But to have Trump, he just keeps moving forward and keeps moving forward. This kangaroo court in New York, we knew what the outcome was going to be. We knew what was going to happen. He wasn't surprised a bit. He knows that the only way he's going to win these things is going to be in front of the Supreme Court, where they will actually look at it constitutionally and toss it out on its ear. So as we saw this last decision regarding the immunity, that was handed back to the lower court. Send us something that's reasonable and is constitutionally sound. So they're going to do that, and they're not going to be able to make a case, which is exactly what's going to happen with all of this other stuff related to Donald J. Trump. He's great at staying the course and working forward, doing these rallies, campaigning. What's going to happen on the 11th at the sentencing here? What's your prediction?
Big Jim, what I'm saying is that the American people, can look to, the upcoming quote-unquote Sinopolis Biden interview, which is supposedly going to be a milestone. But look back to the 18 August 21 similar interview with George Stephanopoulos.
Yep.
And compare that to what's upcoming. I don't know. It may
it's going to be. It looks like it's going to be at 8 p.m. Eastern time on Friday. Is when that's going to air. Is this Friday, 8 p.m. And you're right. Here's George Stephanopoulos is going to be his seeing eye dog, and he's going to guide him through the interview just like he's done in the past for Obama and back to his boss Bill Clinton. That's George Stephanopoulos. Working for Disney and ABC. He's a mouthpiece of the Democrat Party, and he's going to make sure that he can do everything he possibly can to make Joe Biden look good. And they're saying that they're going to put out an unedited transcript of the interview. Bull. There's
that was
no
the
way.
Same thing that they did. Yeah, pardon me, Big Jim, but that was the same thing they did on August 18th of 2021, 8 days before Abbey Gate.
Yeah.
And, it's a... all I can say is if they don't take it down, the 18 August 21 interview, that would be a pristine moment to compare Biden to what he was in 2021.
Well, and in this digital age, you know how that goes. It was posted. It's out there. It's out there, Hank. People are going to be able to see it. They're going to be able to look at it side by side. And we're going back to the debate. The debate speaks volumes. A picture's worth 1,000 words. That debate is worth 1,000,000. And I'll tell you what. Well, I appreciate you calling in and being part of the show. And stay faithful. It's good to have you listening to WBAP. And look forward to talking to you again sometime in the near future.
Thanks, Big Jim.
Thanks, Hank. We've got more of the Chris Crock Show coming up. I'm Big Jim Smith filling in for Chris, and I'd love to have you be a part of this. We're talking about this George Stephanopoulos interview, and I'm glad that Hank brought it up. I was going to bring it up later in the show, but that's going to air on ABC on Friday night, and of course, we're all going to tune in to see if it's as big a fiasco as the debate. It won't be because it's recorded, it's not live, it's editable. We fully anticipate that they're going to make this a big campaign ad for Joe Biden. We'll see. Be a part of the show, 1-800-288-WBAP, 1-800-288-9227, or you can email me, jim@bigjimsmith.net. We'd love to have you be a part of the show tonight on this Independence Day Eve. We'll continue with more coming up next on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Happy birthday, America. Yeah, we're excited. Tomorrow, 4th of July, Independence Day is what it's called. 4th of July is a date. The holiday is Independence Day. So true patriots know that. And why? What does it take to be a true patriot? Have you thought about that? You got to have love of country, pride in your country. That's what the pride's for. It's for the right stuff. And sacrifice. And I think one of the things that we have missed is sacrifice. So, yeah. It's Big Jim Smith in for Chris Crock on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Excited to be here filling in until midnight tonight. We're gonna talk about what's going on in our country with this election. Where are you at for the holiday tomorrow, for Independence Day? Your patriotism level. So I was telling the story earlier in the show about putting out the flag on our new home. It's not it's new to us, and it did not have a flagpole or even a bracket on the front. And so we were at Costco and grabbed one of those big, beautiful flags with the bracket included. And I went out and was mounting it onto the pole. And my daughter came out. Well, I'd put it onto the flagpole. And I said, I need you to hold this. Don't let it touch the ground. I'm teaching her all I'm an Eagle Scout. Shamefully, I say that now with what's gone on with the Scouts. But back in the day, it was a source of pride to be an Eagle Scout. But you learned the good things, the patriotic things about how to treat a flag and how to have healthy male relationships. You didn't have to have sex with your buddies. You just had a good, friendly, healthy male relationship. So that was back in the day. But anyway, now I'm teaching my kids. And my youngest, yes, I'm 63, going on 64, and I have a 10-year-old. So she was out there, and I said, hold on to the flag. Don't let it touch the ground. And when I finished putting the bracket in, I said, okay, now hand it to me. And she said, Dad, remember to put your hand over your heart when you put it up. And I thought, wow, kudos to me and the charter school she attended that was very patriotically centered, she is learning the right stuff. Put your hand over your heart when you put up the flag. It meant something to her. And so it was kind of a moment, and it was important to me. But what does that flag represent? It represents sacrifice and love of country. And we don't have that now. In a recent survey, the respondents said only 39% said that they were very proud to be an American. They felt very patriotic, extremely proud to be an American. 39%. The rest, another 50%, were very moderate to very, but extremely proud to be an American. That used to be, in 1998, that number was 70%. What is the problem? You know what I think it is Americans have forgotten to sacrifice. Now, the youth of today, the left-wingers, are promoting selfishness, self-centered behavior, self-centered attitudes. This is what we get out of our president. This is the way he talks. Everything is self-centered, and it's hard to be patriotic when you feel like you're on a losing team. Well, we're not. We're not. We're on the winning team, the winningest team in the history of the world as it relates to governments. This experiment of the constitutional republic it's an experiment in human self-governance that has failed every time somebody tried anything close to it, and we've made it well over 2 centuries. Almost 2.5. Amazing. Amazing. Simply amazing. What are your thoughts? How do you feel? Are you feeling patriotic? 1-800-288-WBAP. That's 1-800-288-9227. You can call in. I want you to be a part of the show. I want to hear what your thoughts are on the debate, on the status of Joe Biden. Does he have what it takes to make it to the end? Not just to the election, but if he were reelected in November, what do you see for 4 years from now in 2028 when there is another presidential election? Where do you see Joe Biden? We know he wouldn't be running for reelection then, but how likely would it be that a Kamala Harris would be running for reelection then if Joe Biden were elected this year? 1-800-288-9227, 1-800-288-WBAP on your phone. I believe you can text at WBAP at that number as well. So if you're a little shy about coming on the air, I believe you can text at that number. You can also email me, jim@bigjimsmith.net, or shoot me a Facebook message. And my Facebook handle is Big Jim Smith, one word. It's easy. Send me a friend request. I love having my friends in the WBAP audience on my friends list, and we'll make sure to keep up. I hear all kinds of cool stuff from the WBAP listeners when I'm not here, and so I really appreciate it. So President Biden, now you heard that he met with some of the Democrat governors, and he has stood in his defiance that he will continue running for re-election despite growing pressure from others in the party, maybe not those governors, but others in the party following his poor debate performance. And the Democrat Party they're stressing. They don't know what they're going to do. Who would you vote for if they came up with a Kamala Harris ticket, a Gavin Newsom ticket, one of these other Democrats that's younger, prettier, can talk, can end a sentence without running off into babble? What would you do? Do you support Trump still after the conviction, even despite the conviction? Because that's what they're playing on. You're a convicted felon. Well, okay. Does that hinder your vote? I think the sides are decided. I decided on Trump 8 years ago when he first announced, because I respect somebody who's not a politician, who's a great businessman, who knows how to make a living without it being on the backs of the Americans. He created jobs. He took care of his people. He was respected in all facets of the community, even though the Democrats called him a racist. before he ran for president, nobody called him a racist, but then all of a sudden he's in politics and they're calling him a racist. Yeah, well, does that change your mind? What are your thoughts? 1-800-288-WBAP, 1-800-288-9227. Are you a patriot? Have you hung your flag? What are you going to do to demonstrate your patriotism? The youth of today have not really experienced a war. We had 13 service members killed because of the ineptness of our current president. But the greatest generation, there were millions of Americans lost in World War II and World War I. Those two wars, we lost millions of Americans. Every American was impacted by the death and sacrifice of someone they knew and loved. And that created extreme patriotism, love of country. Think back to September 11th, 2000, when we were attacked. Do you remember, those of you who are old enough, do you remember the level of patriotism coming out of the attacks on 9/11? It was unbelievable. There was no chasm between Democrats and Republicans. Everyone was unified in our patriotism and our approach. We welcomed, I can't believe I'm saying this, we welcomed TSA and Homeland Security with open arms because it was going to help us fight against terrorism. The good governor from president from Texas, George Bush, was at the helm at that time. And the leadership that he provided was outstanding. And I'm not a big fan of George Bush in the post years, but his leadership during post 9/11 was outstanding, and he created a hugely patriotic United States of America. How do we get that back? What are your thoughts? What would you do to make us more patriotic? 1-800-288-WBAP, 1-800-288-9227, the number to call. I'd love to have you be a part of the show. I can babble on for hours. My wife will tell you I talk in my sleep. You don't need me to do that. You want to be a part of the show, so call now. 1-800-288-WBAP, 1-800-288-9227. We'll be back with more of the Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Good evening. Welcome back to News Talk 820 WBAP, and now on FM at 93.3. I'm Big Jim Smith, in for Chris Crock, enjoying some Independence Day celebrating, and I hope he's having a great time. I'm planning to do the same thing. I'm gonna go fishing in the morning with my son-in-law, take the boat out, see if we can't get some big old Rocky Mountain cutthroat trout, and then tomorrow night, fireworks. We're gonna go watch a big patriotic firework display. But you know, it's interesting. I hear the 4th of July all the time, but the history of 4th of July is it's Independence Day. So we keep calling it the 4th of July. It's not. It's not a 4th of July celebration. It's the Independence Day celebration. We got to remember that. So anyway, we've been talking about Joe Biden, what he's good for, what he's not good for, what your thoughts are with the debate, what your prospects are for the election coming up in November, who's going to be standing on that stage on August 22nd at the end of the Democrat convention when they announce their candidate, when their candidate presents themselves as the delegate for the Democrat Party for the general election. Who's going to be there? Is it going to be Joe Biden? I don't know. Razzie, welcome to the show, calling from Fort Worth. Welcome to WBAP. What do you have for me, Razzie?
Well, number one, I was born in Cuba, and I grew up here in the United States, and we've always been, my whole family's always been Republican. But anyway, it's not because of that. I don't think that Joe Biden is able to do anything. The last 4 years have been a disaster. And not only that, he wasn't any good before that. I just can't see that he's done any good at all. I don't know what he's done. So, well,
anyway. He's been busy serving Joe Biden and Joe Biden's family and their self-interests. And that's been the case in Delaware. I remember when I was a kid growing up in Montana, Mike Mansfield was I believe he was the Speaker of the House, if I remember. I was a kid. I was young. And he was a good man. He was not the Democrats of today, but those Republicans in Montana kept electing Mike Mansfield to represent them because he did good things, even though he was a Democrat. I don't know why some of these Democrats get elected in some of these. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, anybody on the squad.
Yeah.
I was talking earlier about Adam Schiff. How do these people, what is going on in their communities, in their districts that they're getting elected? Because you're right. When Joe Biden was in the Senate, he was useless. He was terribly useless.
I agree.
So you came from Cuba. So I want to ask the patriotism question, because I am fascinated and have an incredible love for people who come to this country for the true American dream. I don't think our own kids today, Rassi, I don't think they even know what the American dream is or have that concept. It's been taken away from them. What was your what was your perception, your concept when you left Cuba to come to the U.S.?
Well, the reason my parents decided to leave was because of what was coming up. We left right before Castro took over. We left in 1958. So it was just a few months before that, and then he took over in 1959 in January. So my parents had a lot of businesses. They had sugar plantations, they had tobacco plantations, and everything was taken away. Everything. Luckily, my father was an Auburn graduate, and he was an engineer, so he was able to find work right away when we came to Fort Worth.
But the key there is for you to come here, you sacrificed everything.
Everything.
Every worldly thing you had, you sacrificed.
My parents did, yes, my parents did. My mother was an attorney in Cuba, but here, everything, when we left, Castro took all her credentials away. So
unbelievable. Killed the economy. People are still driving cars from the 1950s in Cuba.
Oh, yeah.
It's unbelievable. And what an incredible culture. I mean, the culture of the Cuban people, the food culture, the religious culture. The musical culture. Ricky Ricardo, I grew up with Ricky and Lucy, and that was my exposure to that incredible music culture. And you sacrifice all of that to come to the U.S.
Let me say something. My mother lived across the street from Desi Arnaz.
Really?
In Santiago de Cuba.
Oh, my gosh.
My father was from Guantanamo, the Cuban side, not the American side.
Right.
But it was right there, And, of course, they had businesses and all that. So it's just, they really, really lost everything. We were just kids. But they sacrificed, like you said, everything to start all over again.
And I'll bet you they flew an American flag proudly.
Oh, the American flag that's the flag I glorify. That's the one I salute.
Your culture is Cuban, your heart is American.
Oh yes, of course.
I love it. I absolutely love it, Rassi.
I got my education here. My sister did too, and we're all professionals, So, and the ones that have left after that have really, really had a hard time. I speak a lot with them, and I'm friends with them, and they've had a very, very hard time getting adjusted, number one.
Wow. Well, I am so grateful you called and shared your story and your story of patriotism. God bless your mom and dad for when they knew they were losing everything in their homeland, they came and pursued the American dream, raised a family here, raised good people here, good citizens. You're exceptional. Happy Independence Day tomorrow to you and to your family, and God bless you for all that you do and being a part of the show tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Rassie. Awesome. We're continuing on. Big Jim Smith in for Chris Kroc. We're talking about everything from Joe Biden, patriotism. Tomorrow is Independence Day. What are you doing to demonstrate your love of this country and to celebrate not just the fireworks? Are you gonna do something for someone? Are you gonna sacrifice something? I'm gonna go fishing for the first time with my son-in-law. They just found out they're pregnant with twins after 8 years of marriage, and we're gonna go celebrate in the morning. So we're pretty excited. I want to know what you're gonna do. 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227, the number to call. Email me, jim@bigjimsmith.net. We've got a lot more fun coming up for you on the Chris Kroc Show as I continue to fill in on Independence Day Eve right here on News Talk 820, WBAP, and now on FM at 93.3.